I'm Ceri Moss. I've worked in Hong Kong and in the UK with iLearner and Seven Springs Education, teaching children, helping parents, helping schools, lots of different things. But I'm going to be speaking today about communication expectations, particularly between sort of UK schools and parents like yourselves. So communicating with your child's school is important. That's fairly obvious and we're all aware of that. By attending school every day, your child develops strong communication bonds with their teachers as they settle in and they speak up in class and answer questions, and they become an active part in their school community. Schools are also in frequent contact with parents through letters and emails, reports, parents' evenings, newsletters. You know what it's like. They hope that all of this communication will get through to parents, but sometimes the message can get lost. Either a letter misplaced by a child, an email lost in a spam filter, or mistaken in translation. Similarly, parents are able to contact schools and teachers, which we'll cover in a bit more detail later. But this is often a bit less frequent and can be less stable. So parents might have questions like, should I tell the school this? Is this really their business? Or what number should I call? Who should I ask for? What is the correct email address for my child's teacher? And all of these questions can become barriers to this communication. So this is where we would like to step in and give you as parents more information about how to effectively communicate with teachers and with schools to make sure that your voice is heard and to fully understand the information that teachers give you about your children. So, parental engagement is considered to be very important by all schools in the UK. They're very enthusiastic about involving parents in school life, both academically and in the wider school community. This connection between parents and the school is considered important for several reasons. So, firstly, because good open communication between parents and teachers allows schools to think about and care for the whole child. So that means that they know a bit more about their home life, about their interests. If the child went to a family event at the weekend, that's going to mean they are more tired or perhaps a bit emotional at school for a little while. It helps them to understand. Secondly, it allows parents to feel able to share any relevant concerns or information. So if you're worried about something, if you'd like to ask questions about your child's education or homework or the exam that's coming up. And finally, a great deal of research has shown that having parents who are engaged with education helps children enormously. So schools like to see evidence of this, such as assigning home reading in primary school or getting parents' signatures on homework planners in secondary school. So from our connections with Hong Konger families here in the UK, as well as with schools and other organisations, we know that some schools are doing wonderful things to understand and engage parents like yourselves, such as providing translated materials, arranging coffee meetings with other parents and teachers, and other welcome events. However, some schools do find it more difficult to connect with new families, and some families find it more difficult to adjust to school life in an entirely new country. So I'll give you a couple of examples of issues or concerns that parents or families have had from Hong Kong and how they were resolved. So to take one example, I know of a primary school teacher who had a girl from Hong Kong join her class. and the school were concerned about her fitting in socially and also her academic progress because she was very, very quiet. She didn't answer any questions in class or join in any discussions. She was very quiet in the playground, and she also seemed to be quite behind in English. And the school weren't sure whether she was just a very shy, quiet kid, whether she was very bright, but her English wasn't quite there yet, or whether there were bigger knowledge gaps that she had that were pointing towards a much bigger problem. So her parents were asked, and they were asking about how she was doing, and the school tried to reassure them and say, well, she's a quiet girl, she's taking her time to fit in, but she'll settle in soon, we hope. But as the school were trying to do things to help the girl, parents were concerned that, her schoolwork is easier than her friend's schoolwork, because the school were worried that she didn't understand. So I gave my friend who was the teacher some advice about how classroom learning in Hong Kong is very different to the UK, and that maybe the girl feels very overwhelmed about how much she's being asked to contribute, about having to speak up, and even when she's not sure about her knowledge or about communicating in English. And this allowed the school and the teacher to have some open conversations with the girl and with her parents, and she was able to make progress. In another example, at a different school, there was an issue where one child was being bullied by another child, and both children were from Hong Kong. But unfortunately, because at the school there were no teachers who spoke Chinese, they didn't realize that this bullying was happening. Both of the children's parents were aware of the situation and had talked with each other and with the children about how the bullying wasn't acceptable, but they hadn't shared this information with the school. So unfortunately, the bullying comments kept happening during school time in Chinese, and the school didn't notice until one day the child being bullied mentioned something to a teacher. And then as the teachers investigated, they realized how long it'd been going on for and that the parents knew. Now, in this case, once the school were aware, they were able to have conversations and try and repair the connection between the children, and the issue was resolved. But it would have been better if the parents had known to share this information with the school, then there was more that could have been done to help them sooner. So we can see that there is a preference and also some good examples and reasons for open communication between teachers and parents. And there might be a higher level of engagement that's expected, such as attending school events, parents' evenings, engaging in regular contact. But schools might have lower expectations or an understanding that this is more difficult for parents who are new to the UK, or in cases where a child is boarding overseas away from their family. So schools will often mirror the level of communication that parents give. So if they don't hear much from you, they might assume that either your English is not very good or that you're less engaged in your child's education, which we know is absolutely not true because you're here today. So in general, you may find that there's a difference in the level of engagement that was expected in Hong Kong, where you may have used an experienced tuition centre like iLearner or somewhere else as a source of detailed information about school exams or expectations. In Hong Kong, you may have also had a helper who took children to school or tuition and received feedback from teachers. But hopefully the examples I've given have shown that in the UK, this direct communication between parents and teachers is really important and useful for supporting your child. That the school is the place that you should go with any questions about their education, their progress, or to share your expectations for them. But we can see there are communication barriers on both sides. So from this webinar, we would like to help you as parents understand more about when and how you can communicate with teachers at your child's school to help you feel more confident in the ways that teachers often talk. But the main takeaway for you should be that schools and teachers want parents to be involved in children's learning. They want to hear from parents about relevant information. Schools always welcome parents to share questions and concerns, information, and they will always do their best to accommodate this.